Okay. Okay, we're looking here at the President of the Australian Human Rights Commission. Her name is Professor Gillian Triggs. And I must start by saying that education and wisdom are not the same thing. They're really not the same thing. Now, this is from the President's web pages online. Professor Gillian Triggs, Human Rights Commission staff, this is my comment now, Human Rights Commission staff from the top down will be challenged if they don't defend the genital integrity rights of male children. We can preach human rights, but the practice of them are two different things. If you preach human rights, but don't defend a little boy's genital integrity, you will be challenged. Professor Gillian Triggs, well, there's a whole lot of information here about how educated she is for the role of President. Professor Gillian Triggs, President of the Australian Human Rights Commission, taking up her appointment in 2012. She was a professor, she was a dean, she was faculty of law, director, former barrister, and so on and so forth. It's all very professorial, her curriculum vitae, or whatever it's called. Qualifications, yes, her supposed qualifications for the job were listed. So she's had an excellent and privileged education, which you'd expect, wouldn't you? These are all her laurels, telling us how educated she is and how eminently qualified she is for the part. Theoretically knowledgeable about human rights law, isn't she? That's my comment. She's, in theory, knowledgeable about human rights law, but as I said, practice is a different matter. So, more about her graduation and so forth. She has combined an academic career with international commercial legal practice and worked with governments and international organizations on human rights law. Did that human rights law involve male genital integrity, the genital integrity rights of male children? Most probably not, because male children are generally considered subhuman as far as genital integrity rights are concerned. Indeed, in Australia, it's illegal to circumcise an animal, whether it be male or female. You can't circumcise an animal and not expect to be prosecuted by the RSPCA. Nor can you circumcise a little girl. So she knows all about human rights law ostensibly. She hopes to focus her presidency on the implementation in Australian law of the human rights treaties to which Australia is a party, and to work with nations in the Asia-Pacific region on practical approaches to human rights. Let's just look at that bit again. She hopes to focus her presidency, and she's been there since, 2012, I think, yes. And she hopes to focus her presidency on the implementation in Australian law of the human rights treaties to which Australia is a party. And what are those human rights treaties to which Australia is a party? Like the the Convention on the Rights of the Child and the International Covenant on Civil and Political Rights? Yes, those human rights treaties. Now, the Convention on the Rights of the Child and the International Covenant on Civil and Political Rights would protect a little boy's genital integrity. In principle, if you look at all the principles of those treaties, you will see that a little boy's genital integrity should be protected. Now, did this Gillian Triggs woman, did she go on a listening tour and listen to baby boys screaming from male genital mutilation in Australia? I suspect not. Usually when these people take up their appointments, they go on a listening tour, but they won't listen to the screams of little boys being cut and bleeding and screaming from male genital mutilation. They will keep mum. Only the other day, a few days ago, in Canberra, there was a UNICEF display. I'm sure the Australian Human Rights Commission would have been involved in that display. It was a display that was to teach children all about their human rights. Now listen to this. Of course, at that display, that UNICEF display, there was nothing about male genital integrity for little boys. Had there been, it would have been most newsworthy. Nevertheless, Professor Triggs' long-standing commitment to legal education will build upon the Commission's efforts to inform Australians, especially children, about their fundamental human rights. Have you ever heard such a load of shit? As I said at that UNICEF display, there was nothing about male genital integrity for male children. Now, an intact penis is a fundamental human right. Male genital integrity is a fundamental human right, yes. If you talk about informing children about their fundamental human rights, and you don't tell them about their genital integrity as a right, that is lip service to children's rights, isn't it? It makes her a hypocrite and a liar if she says this thing, but you see no action about little boys being defended. It means she's talking through her arse, doesn't it, basically? Paying lip service by talking through her arse to inform Australians, especially children, about their fundamental human rights. Megan Mitchell's Children's Commissioner pages at the Human Rights Commission last time I looked anyway, don't address male genital mutilation. Nor did Broderick, the Sex Discrimination Commissioner, nor did she ever consider a boy's genital integrity as a human right. If she did, it was certainly not a priority. It came way down the list. You'd think that if a female child could be defended, you'd think a boy could be defended, wouldn't you? The Human Rights Commission web pages say fuck all about male genital integrity. It's all lip service, isn't it? More details about her eminent qualifications. Chair of the Board of the Australian International Health Institute. So I would have thought that male genital mutilation is not healthy when you disable 75 to 80% of the neurological wiring in a boy's penis. That's shocking. I've got extra holes in my penis. What are they for? What are they for? I'd like to know. Professor Triggs is married to Alan Brown, AM, a former Australian diplomat, and has 2 children. I wonder if they're male children, and I wonder if they're genitally intact children. She certainly hasn't educated male children on the genital integrity. Yes, on genital integrity as a human right. Yes, it's a human right, isn't it? There are MGM clinics all over Sydney where this woman lives. Let's have a quick look. Yes, and yes, the glans penis is meant to be private too. We're going to look at privacy principles now. The International Covenant on Civil and Political Rights. There are privacy principles therein and security of person principles. The main international human rights treaty on children's rights is the Convention on the Rights of the Child and the International Covenant on Civil and Political Rights, yes. The Convention on the Rights of the Child is the most widely ratified human rights treaty in the world. Australia ratified the CRC, that is the Convention on the Rights of the Child, in December 1990, which means that Australia has a duty to ensure that all children, that includes boys in Australia, enjoy the rights set out in the treaty, that is the right to security of person, to genital integrity. The Human Rights Commission web pages say fuck all about genital integrity as a human right for male children. So, if we aren't allowed to despoil a Taliban corpse by cutting off the hand of a dead man, then why are we allowed to cut off the foreskin of a live and screaming in agony baby boy, a male child? We're not allowed to circumcise animals in Australia, not male or female. We can't circumcise a male or female animal, as I said before, or we'll be prosecuted by the RSPCA, and we certainly can't even put a pinprick on a little girl without going to jail for 21 years, can we? The Human Rights Commission's children's rights pages say, help us make sure that children and young people have a genuine say on the issues that affect their lives. A genuine say, that is their entire lives. Male genital integrity is a right of a male child. I've had to live my entire life with extra holes in my penis, haven't I, because I was genitally mutilated. So, is this woman another hypocrite at the Human Rights Commission? Is she yet another hypocrite? If she doesn't defend boys, she's sexist and misandrist, isn't she? The website fails to educate male children as to their fundamental human rights. So, there you are. A look at scrutinising Professor Gillian Triggs, who talks about, the efforts to inform Australians, especially children, about their fundamental human rights. Talk is one thing, actions are another. See ya.